here. Hmm. Shows I should be live right now. Okay. Shows we are now live, everybody. Hey, welcome to our live stream for Sunday. And today I have a special guest, actually, my very first guest for everyone. I have a very good friend of mine, Larry Lee out of Texas. Hey, everybody. Tell them about, or Larry, tell them about yourself.
Hey, what's up, guys? Really appreciate the opportunity, Eric. So my name is Larry Lee with Van Dyke Mortgage. I'm a loan officer. Well, technically, I'm a branch manager, but I'm in the mortgage space. So that's one of the reasons why I think it's going to be an interesting conversation because Eric can speak on the real estate side. I can speak on the mortgage side about whatever topics we talk about. I also I met Eric because I'm actually also a social media marketing coach, meaning I provide guidance for real estate agents and loan officers on how they can grow their business using social media, which of course kind of spawned to other businesses. Like I actually provide done for you marketing services. I own a CRM. I run a team of virtual assistants. So there's a lot of different things that I do, but for the most part, I would say that I focus on building my business and my referral partner's business, and of course my client's business using social media. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell, I would say.
Okay, good, good, man. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to just talk about what's going on kind of nationally with the entire market because, things are just nuts right now. To say nuts is like saying two squirrels running around the woods or something. Uh, so, talk about your market area. And I know that you actually cover more than your market area because you actually have licenses in multiple states. Talk about that for a second.
So I am licensed in 11 different states, and because I'm a loan officer, I can really help anybody. It doesn't matter where in the state you are at. So some people ask me, can you help me? Like I'm in Dallas Fort Worth in Texas. Somebody asked me, can you help me in San Antonio? I'm like, yes, I can. They think because I'm not physically near them that there's a chance that I might not be able to help them, but because I'm licensed in the entire state, I can help anybody. So my experience is vast when it comes to the types of transactions I'm involved in. What I mean by that is, uh, I'm in a suburb of Dallas Fort Worth, but I'm helping people who are 100 miles away in a rural area where they're buying tons of land and like a small property on top of it, which I'm not even close to. I'll probably never see that property, but because I'm licensed in the state, I can help that person. So I have experience in properties that I might not be physically near and will probably never see ever again. So I have a little bit of experience with every type of transaction, I would say. And to talk specifically about Dallas Fort Worth, it's a very hot market. It's always a very good market because I think that Texas has a lot of opportunity, a lot of room for growth. The cost of living is not as high as certain places, and at the same time, um, you can get more for your money, basically, right? The only, I guess, downfall or negativity or whatever is the taxes are higher, but that's because we don't do income tax here like I think they do in California and New York. So there's a few nuances. They're different, but Texas has always been a strong market, no matter what the economy has done. We like to say that we are recession proof. So I've never really felt, I've only been in the business for what, 4 or 5 years, about 5 years, 2016, 15 ish. So I haven't seen like a major drop or felt any sort of uh, danger of the economy being bad here in Texas. But I think that for the most part, and from experience and conversations with other loan officers, Texas has always been a strong market. Now, that's not the same in every place. I'll give you another example. I get a lot of people who are in California who are either refinancing or leaving California to move to Texas. So even though I'm not closing the loan in California, I am speaking to a lot of Californians. A lot of it is people are leaving California because the political climate, right? Like they don't like what's happening, or they're starting to see that Texas is a great opportunity because the way the taxes are. Also, because of coronavirus and the quarantine, a lot of the people who live in California, who have a job in California, are forced to work remotely, and it's almost become a permanent thing for a lot of these people. So it doesn't matter where they live. So I'm closing a lot of deals where they're moving to Texas or another area, but their job is still in California because they're working remotely. So there's a lot of that going on as well. Those are just a few examples of what I'm seeing from the mortgage side.
Okay, good. Now, we talked earlier, you wanted to discuss some things about Zillow and what they're doing. So I'm going to let you discuss it from the mortgage side because they are now a part of the National Association of Realtors. I can't discuss them too much on my end.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to leave it alone on that and let you discuss what you're allowed to discuss on your end. And I'm going to let you take it away on that.
Well, I'm just going to repeat or review what the article states, right? So this is from Seeking Alpha, which I don't know much about Seeking Alpha, but it seems to have a lot of different articles from different sources. This one happens to publish the conversation that the insiders in Zillow has with, I guess, their shareholders, right? So they call it the earnings call, right? So this is just a transcript from it. So I don't want to bore you guys and read the entire article, obviously, but I'm going to kind of hit some key points that I noticed whenever I read this article. And I actually was shared this article from a good friend of mine, Chase Johnson, who's also a loan officer and a real estate agent. And him and I kind of, I wouldn't say that we're sensitive to what's going on with Zillow, but we've been paying attention to Zillow because we know that Zillow is making the most moves and they're going to make the biggest impact on our industry, right? So a few things that he's shared with me, I'm going to read to you guys. So this one talks about Zillow 360, and if you haven't heard about Zillow 360, you probably should pay attention about it right away because it's going to affect a lot of us. Okay, but it says as one example, we are building a program called Zillow 360 that enables our customers to sell their current 100 Zillow offers by their next time with a premier agent and finance it with Zillow Home Loans. The customer then uses Zillow closing services to finalize the transaction and ultimately receives a discount for using the bundle package. While we still have a long way to go on scaling Zillow 360, we are seeing strong interest in higher close rates when offering packages of services to its customers versus single standalone services. So, the takeaway there is that they're basically telling you that you can sell with Zillow, you can purchase with Zillow, or if you don't want to purchase with Zillow, that's fine, but you're still selling with Zillow. You can end up financing your house or financing the new purchase with Zillow, and you close all the transaction using Zillow. So basically everything in-house, right? So in that situation, Zillow gets both of your deals, the one where you sold and the one that you're going to purchase, because even though they might not be handling the listing that you're buying, they will be handling the financing side, meaning they'll help you buy the house, right? And then they're encouraging you to close it with Zillow closing services, which is, replacing title, right? So basically sellers, mortgage guys and the title company are being affected by this particular system. Okay. And you get a discount. Why wouldn't you do that? Right. Let's put it this way. If I'm selling my house using Zillow and then they say, well, I'm going to finance your next purchase. And if you close with us, you're going to get a discount on everything. You're going to get a discount on the selling. You're going to get a discount on the mortgage. You're going to get a discount on the title. Why wouldn't I do that? And, in my mind, I would think, well, that actually would make it more seamless. There'll be less confusion because, let's put it this way. As a loan officer, and I'm just saying this from my perspective, I'm pretty sure real estate agents understand this as well. There's a lot of back and forth and sometimes confusion and conflict and waiting around when it comes to mortgage and title, right? This happens all the time and I kind of make a joke about it. Title always tells the agent and everyone else, hey, we're just waiting on the lenders to finish. We're already ready, and that's their way of kind of putting fire under our ass, but also making themselves look good because we're the ones that are lagging behind, right? But I think that's what they're trained to do. They do that all the time. I always get a message, hey, what's going on? Title said they're ready and they haven't heard anything from you guys. And I'm like, we're not closing for like another week. Yeah, but that's their way of making themselves look good. And of course, throwing us under the bus, right? So there's a lot of that going on. And it seems almost like title and mortgages are kind of on different sides of the closing part of the transaction. Whereas if it was more Zillow home loans and Zillow closing services, they would be more seamless, right? They would be interconnected, and there wouldn't be as much. I mean, it's almost to the point where I would assume that the closing services would already have access to the information, so it would actually just kind of not even be hey, let me take this information and send it to another third party. It's all one party. So they would already have access. So that would make it more efficient and less confusion from my perspective, right? So yeah, I think that's that's a pretty powerful value proposition. And I don't know how myself, another title company, and whatever the listing agents could compete against that, right? And let's just put it this way: by them streamlining it, it definitely makes us look less competitive, right? So that's one thing. Another thing that that I read was the fact that, and actually I'm going to open up the article. I was looking at it right here. They said that as I said above, we are now back on track with our original objective to purchase 5,000 homes per month and generate annualized revenue of $20 billion within the original 3 to 5 year timeline. And then they say, for Zillow Home Loans, we are also on course to achieve our stated goal of 3,000 mortgages originate per month within the original time frame. We say so. Basically, say within 3 to 5 years, they want to have a consistent number of 3,000 plus mortgages originated per month. Okay, now I know that we have, or a lot of us might have, this abundance mentality. We don't have a scarcity mentality, and there's plenty of business to go out there. But if I really think about it, if 3,000 loans are being originated a month by Zillow, that's 3,000 loans that myself and everyone I know in the mortgage business is not able to do, right? And I know a lot of loan officers. I run a loan officer group with 2,500 loan officers, right? Actually, yeah, at least 2,500 loan officers. So those loans are not going to us; they're going to Zillow, right? So in essence, let's use that number 2,500. That's one loan a month. Each of us are not able to do because Zillow's doing it, right? I think mortgages and real estate is a zero-sum game. Meaning, if one is taken away, if one's being taken from someone else, that's someone else losing. So if Zillow takes a loan, this is a loan that was taken away from this person, right? So that's a huge impact. And if that's their goal for the first 3 to 5 years, what is their goal going to be 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Right. So that's a concern for me and my coworkers. Right. And of course we can hide behind the mentality like, oh, well, Zillow will never replace us. Our customer service is better, yada, 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 yada. The thing is I think a lot of people don't realize that the generation today is literally trying to make everything as easy as possible, as quick as possible. They want everything digital. They want everything in the cloud. They want everything instant gratification. E-commerce is something that cannot be sneezed at, right? I think it's something that needs to be taken into consideration. And I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of these clients that are coming up and becoming buyers, they are almost expecting that. So whenever, I'll give you an example. I had a client who said they used me instead of someone else because the person that they were using was asking for fax documents. He's like, fax? Who the heck uses fax? And he automatically went to me. He doesn't care if that person is 20 years experience, doesn't care that I might not be experienced. They don't even care. Like, they didn't even ask about race or anything like that. They just said, hey, man, I'm going with you because my last guy wanted me to fax documents and I'm just not going to do that. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So I automatically got a client simply because I didn't use fax, right? And that's a commentary on technology, right? How many people are going to decide, well, you know what, I'm not going to use this agent. I'm going to use a loan officer because they are expecting me to do things manually, or they're expecting me to fill something out. I'd rather do something that's more streamlined or more instant gratification, right? And that's what Zillow is all about: is digitizing everything, automating everything. If you read the article, it actually says that's one of the first things they say is that they were trying to automate everything, right? To kind of emphasize that, I'm going to talk about a part of the article that I'm kind of alluding to, right? It says we also want to be able to play with pricing as well as having internal competition. It's just one transaction. On a go-forward basis, you ask, what are we watching? I would say that we are focused on normal, typical, not transactional e-commerce like drivers, okay? That's your experience with your e-commerce companies. You're different from the old Zillow, very similar to your e-commerce companies. How many transaction customers do we have? How many transactions do we have? How many services per transaction are there? What is the profit per transaction? Okay, right? And another part that they state about e-commerce is they're saying that I see lots of opportunity of driving or higher, which will multiply leverage. We see growth, leverage. We see now have organizing the company. We're organizing our fillings and segments reporting. We're getting organized around these new e-commerce transaction metrics. So anyway, I have tons of interesting stuff ahead in my opinion. And from my perspective, not only is that something that they're providing that's going to give them a competitive edge towards people who aren't using e-commerce, but the fact that they're using e-commerce to sort of do these transactions, they're gathering more data, and therefore they're able to react better. They have metrics and intelligence in order to improve their systems, and therefore they are basically using information to improve their processes, whereas we don't have that sort of data. I mean, you just think about it, Zillow, just their aggregate. They get thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of views a day on their websites. None of us have that, right? So when it comes to data and analytics and knowing how to react to it, they're going to have a competitive edge, which will make it easy for them to just basically get rid of us. So yeah, that's basically all I got to say about that. And this is with every technology company. It's not just Zillow. Zillow just happens to be the one that's in the real estate industry or real estate space, but many intelligence or many technology companies are using this kind of mentality and method to basically squelch the competition. I mean, I don't have to name any, but there should be a few examples that are obvious, like Amazon, right, and Netflix, right? It's obvious. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I got your take on that one, man. So let's go ahead and get into some national news. Let's look at this one here. So looking over here at this data here, they're saying that homeowner equity has surged across the U.S. Hey, no kidding on that. Like I say, when people keep talking about the coming wave of foreclosures, all I can say is unless there's a disaster, I don't see any coming wave of foreclosures because very few people don't have equity. And during the first quarter, I mean, look how much equity most people have built up. And any foreclosures that happen are people who stuck their heads in the sand or went around taking a bunch of money out of their homes, which they probably shouldn't have. And some people may have taken it because of the pandemic. What have you been seeing there in the Texas market and the 11 markets that you service?
So I wouldn't say that a lot of people are taking money out of their home in terms of the equity. They've been doing mostly rate and term refinances, meaning they've been taking advantage of the rates and their equity to save with interest, right? So they're not really changing the equity as much. I mean, I'm getting a few people who are taking equity to pay off debts. But I think that's going to help them anyways, right? Like they have like a car note or credit cards, and they're paying that off. They're just shifting the money around, right? And if you think about it, it's a smart way to go because you're going to be paying 3% or less on a refinance, whereas your credit cards are going to be like a 4, 5, 6% interest rate, right? So you're basically just consolidating debt is what they call it. But basically, you're just replacing the debt. Instead of paying to the credit card companies and the car notes, you're paying it towards the mortgage, which is the cheapest money right now, right? So, in terms of foreclosures, I would think that if they're taking care of their other debts, their other monthly payments, they should be able to handle the monthly payment, right? And I think when we refinance, we do a decent job of making sure their um, ATR or ability to repay is reasonable, right? Like we don't put them in a dangerous situation when it comes to refinances. Let's put it this way: when it comes to having an actual refinance become approved, there has to be some sort of net tangible benefit. That's like a rule, right? Like we can't refinance someone into a worse situation. You always have to refinance into a better situation. Okay. So we normally put the people in a better situation. Now, of course, if they are cashing out, then that's the benefit is different, right? The benefit is you might be in a higher rate or higher payment, but the benefit is you're drawing cash out, right? So in that situation, then it might not be as obvious. But when it comes to a rate and term that has nothing to do with equity, I think most people are okay. So from my experience, most of mine are rate and term. I haven't done very many cash outs lately, right? So it's hard for me to weigh in on that. But I would imagine, yes, if they were to cash out, they did put themselves in a worse position, especially if they're dealing with the the pandemic, the moratorium, and everything like that. But I believe that they should still be okay because they'll have 20% equity, right? And with 20% equity, if you were to sell your house, you still have that much equity. And you can use that to, of course, if you have to, move to another location or rent or whatever. But I don't think you should be in danger of foreclosure, right? I mean, let's put it this way. If you are in danger of being in foreclosure because you don't have the money to pay your mortgage payment, then you could always do a cash out, and hopefully they can figure out a way to get you qualified, and it actually pauses a payment for yourself, so you have a little bit of time. And then if you cash out, then you can use that cash out to start paying your mortgage payment back, right? Which sounds like a crazy idea, but I mean, worst case scenario, you do what you gotta do, right? But yeah, that's my experience. I don't, like I said, I don't have a lot of people cashing out in their equity.
Okay, good. So let's tackle this next one that I see here, and it's actually talking about buyers. They're actually starting to cool to the market, and a lot of it has to do probably with the run up in prices because we are at historic highs. I don't know about the 11 markets that you service in Texas area. Here in Las Vegas, we are hitting highs month after month, and each month they are absolutely ridiculous. We now have more houses on the market, yet sales are going down, but prices continue to go up for some odd reason. It defies all logic. And so total spending is going down. The housing companies, the new builders, they're going like, whoa, wait a minute. They're starting to pull back a little bit, even though supplies are starting to loosen up when it seems like they should be going like, hey, let's start building some more stuff. So they're getting buyers are starting to get more pessimistic. Builders are stepping back, and even though costs are reversing, somehow prices are still going up. What's your perspective on that one,
um, if you want my honest opinion, idiocy. Okay. Uh, it's kind of like when you hear about the hot stock or hot company you want to invest in, by the time you heard about it, it's already too late, right? Like oh, you need to invest in this one. It's like, okay, if my uncle is telling me about this, then it's probably already known to the public. So any opportunity to cash in and get rich is already gone, right? I think the same thing kind of goes with the housing market. Now, it's not as volatile, it's not as quick, but I think a lot of people, they had that, and this is me being kind of cynical, right? People had that FOMO, right? The reason why people are listing their homes is because they want to cash out, right? They're hearing about all these people selling their houses 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 above listing, and they're like, holy crap, I need to sell my house too, right? And there are people, I think, who saw the opportunity and took it as fast as possible and took advantage of it and succeeded, right? But I think most people that are starting to list their house are already too late. They've already kind of missed the wave, right? Now, not to say that they won't sell the house, but they're not going to cash out as much as they think. So, they're hearing I sold my house $100,000 over, so they're like, okay, well, I could probably sell my house $50,000 over, then I'd be okay. When in reality, the market's cooling down, like you said, and I guess reality is starting to hit, and people. I think a lot of people kind of lost energy and lost hope and motivation to buy houses after getting their asses kicked 5, 6, 7 times a week on making offers. They're like, you know what, I'm just gonna wait, and they just kind of give up, right? Like I've actually had people who are pre-approved, and I follow up with them, and they're like, yeah, Larry, we're just gonna wait until next year because it's just stupid out there right now. Like we're getting turned down, and we're giving 50,000 over asking. It makes no sense right now. So we're just gonna wait, right? So I know there's clients out there who are just giving up, right? But it still means that there's opportunity there, but you're not gonna be able to cash out like everyone else. So again, it's idiocy, meaning like I think people who are listing the houses are dreaming about what they heard 5 months ago, 6 months ago, maybe 2 months ago, of their neighbors and their friends and their cousins selling their house for $50,000 over plus, and they're looking for the quick cash out. And I think the market's kind of catching up, and they're going to be disappointed, right? I mean, they might still get above asking, right? Or not above asking. They might still get above value. That's the way I should explain it, right? So like their house, they're trying to sell the house for $300,000 when they know the house is worth $250,000, and the people might be willing to offer $275,000. Right, so the house might not appraise based on what they originally agreed upon. But yeah, anyways, the point is they'll still get more than the house is worth, but they're not going to get what they're looking for because again, they've kind of missed the boat. So that's my theory as to what's going on and why houses prices are still rising. They're not reacting fast enough. These people they're not looking at data. They're not listening to their real estate agents, or they're just throwing it out there hoping it works, right? Like even the agent says, hey, just so you know, we might not be able to get as much as you want. It's like, well, can we just try? Can we just go for it? I mean, you never know, right? Someone might make an offer, right? And I've heard people using the opposite strategy, like they're listing it really low, right? Like they're listing a house really low, like even like for example Zillow, right? And it's bad for me to bring up Zillow again, but Zillow, this is an example of Zillow. Zillow would buy a house for $600,000 and list it at $550,000. And everyone's like, wait a minute, why is Zillow listing it for less than they paid for it? Well, whatever reason they bought the house, maybe to just win the house, whatever, but they're listing it for low. A lot of people were sort of guessing or predicting that they're doing that because they're going to get multiple offers and it's going to drive the price up, right? So some people are using that strategy, but I think for the most part, that the listing price is up because people are trying to cash out, and the demand is starting to dwindle a little bit, right? At least that's my theory.
Okay. As far as the listing low strategy, that's pure eBay, man. I mean, it's age old, and when you list a house for a lower price than it's worth, people know value.
Mm-hmm.
And they always want to do the same thing. It's kind of like before the craziness started. I remember I listed a house one time and I screwed up. I was trying to get my broker's signature before I put it in the MLS, and she finally signed it right before I had to go someplace. And I dashed it, put it in, and I fat fingered in a number incorrectly.
Oh wow!
I listed the house for $275 instead of $375.
Holy crap!
Second, I hit the button. Before I hit the door to go run to where I needed to go, I got my first call. By the time I hit my car in the garage, I got my second call. By the time my garage door opened, I got my third call.
Yeah.
By the time I pulled out, I got my fourth call. By the time I hit the gate to my community, I got my fifth call. And it's like, what is going on? Then I went like, wait a minute, what price do you see in the MLS? It's like, oh, I fat fingered it in incorrectly.
Wow.
And it's like, that's why you do that, and people get crazy. They think they're going to get something for $370 that's worth $375 for $275. That's almost how scams work.
Yeah.
It's the same way in real estate.
Yep.
If you see a house in a prestigious neighborhood where everything sells for $600,000 and it's listed for $500, you're not going to get it. I get calls like that all the time, and I go, you're not going to get it for that price. they did that on purpose, so they'll have 100 offers and they sell it for 700,000, not six.
Yep.
And it's even hard to convince sellers on that, where you need to list it at 550 if it's worth six, and you'll get 650. You'll actually get more than your neighbors. And they'll go like, "Oh, I don't want anyone stealing my house, or I don't want to get undervalued." It's like, no, you're gonna get more money.
Yep.
Will go nuts because they're thinking they're going to get the bargain, and then their emotions take over.
Yep.
That's the thing. And when you were talking a few minutes ago about a couple of things, well, I was at kind of a listing presentation last week, and I've been preparing for it to go out and everything. In between, a house listed, and that house listed for $100,000 over the last sale for the same model match, everything the same, that had just sold a couple of months more before in that neighborhood. And it's like, how does someone think they're going to sell their house for 100,000 more 2 months later? It's absolutely crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people have, like you said, eBay, right? People have the mentality of like, it was, my house is one of a kind, right? And it's true, because not only is your house one of a kind because of the way it's built, the address, and where it's located, but it's also one of a kind in terms of its availability at this moment, right? Like, your house was different 6 months ago than it is now. That house that you sold a month ago is no longer available. So now your house is one of a kind because this house is sold. This house no longer available, right? So it is true in some sense, and they're hoping that there's a value. Let's put it this way, okay? And again, I'm cynical, right? I think people have been overpaying for houses on a higher level than ever in my entire experience, and probably, from my knowledge, in the last year than ever, right? And agents, and I love my agents, okay, but agents, they say, well, the market's the market. They decide what the clients decide what the house is worth, and they're going to pay what it's worth. So that's the market, right? And I think emotion, right, and FOMO, and the competition, like, I want to win, I don't want to lose, I want this house, that kind of mentality, it takes over, and people who just have too much money, right, or have the ability to spend too much money, make decisions that they would never have made if they were not emotional. And I think we're going to see a lot of buyer's remorse in 2022. We're going to get a lot of people who are going to be like, holy crap, I paid too much for this house or whatever, because they're going to find out that it's just a house like every other house, right? There's nothing special about it. There's nothing that justified paying an extra $50,000 to $100,000. There's nothing that justified it. It's the fact that you want a house right now at this very moment, and it was just perfect for whatever reason. And then once you realize that it's just a house, you start realizing that you basically just threw away $50,000 to $100,000 or whatever it is you paid, right? I think that's what's going to end up happening. And people who are listing the house for more than they think they should get for it are hoping to take advantage of that idiocy. You know what I'm saying? Like, they know that people are making dumb decisions, and they're hoping to get that one guy who just doesn't care. Maybe that cash buyer from California, right? Who looks at $100,000 house. I mean, let's change the number. Who looks at a $500,000 house in California and is looking at a shack and looks at a castle in Texas, and they're willing to pay $500,000 when it's actually only worth $450,000, but because $50,000 ain't shit for him, right? So I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on your show. Sorry about that, but it ain't jack. They want to just throw it out there because they already have it in cash anyways. They're like, whatever, I already have $50,000. To me, that's a cheap deal. That's a great deal, right? Even though they're overpaying, I compare it to the Tickle Me Elmo stage, right, or era. When everyone was like paying $100 or $1,000 for Tickle Me Elmo because they simply had to get it for their kid on Christmas or whatever, right? I made a post comparing the two. I was like, this housing market is the same as the Tickle Me Elmo phase. So yeah, I mean, people are listing it for the price that they think they can get it because they're hoping that there's an idiot out there looking for a house that's willing to pay that much. I mean, bottom line.
Yeah, I agree, with the exception of a year from now, the people who paid 50,000 over, they reset the market, which means they didn't overpay because the appraisal will still appraise it at that 50 over because they were the ones who set the market.
Right.
The people who didn't pay 50,000 over, they still had to pay 50,000 more. They just didn't have to pull it out of their pockets. They
Right.
got to finance it.
Yep.
So they should only feel foolish because they had to pull it out of their savings. Whereas the next guy who bought, who didn't have to pay 50,000 over, they got to finance it, and they
Mhm.
still get to get their money and go on vacation and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. And uh, a reason why this is a concern for us loan officers, just so you understand, right, is home buyers ends up becoming refinance clients, right? So, like, if I help someone buy a house, I'm expecting to talk to them a year from now about possibly refinancing for whatever reason, whether the rates are lower, maybe there's equity, whatever, right? But I'm going to do a rate check, right? And uh, the concern is if they overpay for the house, right? If they put more into the house than they're supposed to, the equity won't be there to justify a refinance, right? That's the concern that a lot of loan officers have. And I've heard stories of people who bought, back in 2020 when they actually overpaid a little bit, and they're not able to refinance because they're actually based on the refinance appraisal underwater. Okay. Now, people do say an appraiser who's looking at a house for refinance is going to be different from an appraiser who's looking at a purchase. And I know at least one reason why, right? When a person is when a person is purchasing a house and they have an appraiser come out, the appraiser knows what the contract purchase price is. They know what the house has to appraise for the appraisal to meet value. They have that number as part of their information. So I believe there's a little bit of influence there, meaning the appraiser is going to look at the house knowing this is what the purchase price of the house is, and is literally almost trying to figure out, can they meet that number? So they have a goal of some sort, right? Whereas when you do a refinance, there's no purchase price because it's not a purchase, it's a refinance. You know what I'm saying? So there's not that number there. So I think there's a little bit of influence on the purchase appraisal versus a refinance appraisal. And of course, I've heard, and I don't know if that's true or not, I can't confirm it, but I've heard that refinance appraisals are tighter than purchase appraisals, whatever, right? The point I'm making is that the two appraisals might be different. You know what I'm saying? Like the purchase appraisal on the house in 2021 might be different from the refinance appraisal in 2022. Okay. And that doesn't affect the agent, but it affects the homeowner and affects the loan officer, right? Now, whether or not that's unfounded, whether or not that's not true, I mean, maybe the appraisal will work out because of all the comps of all the houses that sold in the last year, therefore justifying the higher value, whatever. I mean, there's all that can happen, but that's just the concern that loan officers would have, is that you're putting yourself negative when you purchase a house, because there was a time when people were buying houses for under asking, and that was normal. You know what I'm saying? That was almost instant equity, right? We don't have those days anymore. So there's a potential effect on the refinance opportunities for us come 2022, 2023, and so on, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Good. That one. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the Vegas market. I don't know how attuned you are with your market out there. It's a little bit bigger. So these are stats from just yesterday. I always like to give attribution, even though she says we just use these. These come from Ruthie. You know who you are, Ruthie, if you're looking at this. Ruthie rocks. She puts these out every day. And like right now, as of last night, we had 441 condos available, 3,263 single family, and 272 condos for 3,976 available units. And right now we're at 25.6 days of inventory, which again is still holding strong. We're almost at a month. A month ago, we were under 2 weeks. So again, we're talking about we are still just creeping up on that. And some really interesting things along with that. Uh, only of the ones that are out there, only 27 homes under 400,000 came on the market yesterday. I remember the median is 405, and of all those homes that are active out there, of those over 3,200, only 984 were under 400,000. $1 million home. Those things are going like hotcakes, believe it or not. Uh, 4 of them are selling per day right now, whereas a
Wow.
year ago, only about 1 per day were selling.
Wow.
Here's one of the things that's driving that. 130 people a day are moving to Las Vegas. 40% of those are from California.
Mm-hmm.
Rentals. We'll talk about that in a second here. Rentals are up, way up. They're hot as can be. Prices are going through the roof right now. A lot of people are staying put who can. And sales, 31% of all sales in the Las Vegas Valley, guess what? Investors. They are tearing this place up, which means they're not buying those $1 million homes. They're buying those under $400,000 homes.
Yep.
They're buying those under $500,000 homes.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the regular folks going to live at? They're going to be renting from these investors. And this is, I'm serious. This one blew me away. Just shocked me, man. Ready for this one? You almost have to sit down when I tell you this one. Last month, over 160 homes were sold
Mm-hmm.
to an unknown investor from Utah. Nobody knows who they are.
160?
160
Wow.
to an unknown investor from Utah. Nobody knows who they are. Like little Spider-Man things from the electric company back when you were kids. I don't know if you remember. You're old enough to remember that. Nobody knows who you are.
Wow.
It's nuts, man. 160 to an unknown investment company person, whoever from Utah, who pulled up a bunch of cash and bought them in cash, some blind trust, whatever, in the month of July.
Wow.
Everybody trying to figure out who they are.
And I mean, that's another factor, right? In terms of availability of homes and how hot the market is you're dealing with individuals or entities like this, right? And they're hard to predict. And you don't know. I mean, this guy from Utah must see a lot of value loss. I mean, he probably knew about the California thing, right? I mean, he was probably reacting to that because I mean, anyone who's done any loans in California or Texas knows that everyone's leaving California, or not everyone, but a large amount of people are leaving California, right? So where are they going to go? Where are these Californians going to go, right? So Las Vegas it's a great option. Obviously, you're still close to California. You're just in a different state, different laws, different rules, different expectations, right?
Better laws and rules, man. I got to make a video talking about like next year, people in California may not be able to eat bacon anymore. You seen that one?
Oh my God!
I'm not joking.
Wow, that would suck. I would leave California for that reason. Yeah, I mean, I'm the kind of guy it is what it is, right? That's my mentality, right? You know, where the laws are, right? But if you take away my bacon, I might be like, dude, it's time to put our house for the market. Because what else are they going to take away? You know, they might take away ice cream next. You know, who knows? But yeah, dude, that's and you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yeah, okay, it sucks that that's what's happening to people in California, and then of course, you know, you have investors that are kind of, I guess, making a bet, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that though, because it's okay for the world to shift around. I mean, there's a lot of plenty of great states out there that should be increasing in their population. They should be increasing in their home sales. Nevada is one of them, right? I mean, dude, I'll be honest with you. I'm in my house literally 95% of the day. The only time I'm outside of my house is I'm driving from one place to another place. But I'm always in some sort of air conditioned property, right? So I really don't care what outside's like. You know what I'm saying? I mean, of course, if I'm doing yard work, whatever, it's going to suck, but then I can always leverage that. I'm going to hire someone to do that for me, right? And there's going to be someone that's more acclimated, that's more built for outdoorsy type stuff. I don't need to be outdoors. So to me, the weather doesn't really matter to me. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of Californians, right, and this is me just kind of generalizing, which might be bad, they're in California, or they love California because the weather's so perfect, right? It's such great weather. Okay, it's near the beach and all that good stuff. Well, actually, there's some Californians that are not even close to the beach; they're more inland, but still, the weather should be better. And they're starting to realize that the weather's not worth it. It's not worth it to pay, 5 times more than you would buy in Texas. So I'm going to be. And I actually had a client that said that. A client said, "I'm buying in Texas because I'm in the house all day anyways. I don't give a crap what California's weather is like. It makes no difference to me. I'm in the house 95% of the time anyway. So to me, inside California or inside Texas, it makes no difference to me. It's the same to me. So I'd rather pay, half or a quarter the same price, right? So, and I mean, he showed me a picture of like this really rundown looking like mobile home. That was just a shack. He's like, Larry, guess how much this house is? I'm like, I don't know, $200,000-$300,000. He's like, no, 3 million. I'm like, holy crap. He's like, it's because of location, right? Location, and of course, it's an actual house. He's like, 3 million for this, and I'm paying. And his house was like, 5 times bigger, and of course, a lot nicer. And he said, I'm paying literally $500,000 for this house. I mean, it's a no-brainer at that point. Location. Who cares about location? Weather. Who cares about weather? Especially if you work from home, right? So, I think that it's not positive that people are leaving California, but it's positive for everyone else who's benefiting from that, right? So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, isn't California overpopulated anyways, right? I mean,
They actually lost population.
well, they lost population, but they've been overpopulated. They've been considered overpopulated for the most part, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, let's put it this way: ratio per land. I think Texas is like 1% compared to California. We have way more land than we do people. So yeah, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's okay for people to shift around. I think it's okay for people to invest in Utah. Yeah, it sucks that people are losing out, but I mean, there's plenty of other places you can live. And then that's what drives the economy anyways, right? So I am curious about who this guy in Utah is though, or team or entity, whatever.
Or something.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that kind of wraps up what I was going to talk about today, man. So it's been a good talk with you and all. Got good stuff we talked about today. Anything you want to talk about? Any closing thoughts on your part?
Well, of course, appreciate the opportunity, and a lot of this was just kind of stuff I pulled out, pulled out of nowhere, right? I mean, who knows if what I'm saying is quantifiable or correct or accurate? It's just my thoughts and my opinions. I did have one last thing to say about Zillow, but I think I forgot what I was going to say. About my part. I think a lot of people don't realize, because the topics that you talk about, that's kind of, I wouldn't say expected, but it's kind of market specific, number one, and number two, it's kind of business as usual, right? And it's going to be different next week or next month or next year. It's going to be different, right? Whereas the Zillow thing, I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that it's reality. It's going to become law, right, in this real estate industry. Okay, yeah, I remember what I was going to say. I don't know if anyone on this call has ever or remember travel agents, right? But back in the 90s, and I guess maybe early 2000s, travel agencies were pretty popular until websites like, I don't know, Expedia, right? Those type of websites are cropping up, and basically killed, from my perspective, the travel agency industry. Now, some people do say, "Oh, I still use the travel agent." I'm like, "Yeah, you are an exception, right?" Most people, like my wife, who's probably booked like 6 or 7 flights this year, uses websites like Expedia. She does not call travel agent. Okay. Well, the same people who started Expedia are the same people who are running Zillow today. Just so you know. Okay. I think a lot of people don't realize that. If you look it up, who started Expedia, you'll see that it's the same names, same people who are running Zillow right now. Okay. They are not here to help real estate agents. They are here to take over the real estate industry. Again, make it seamless, make it all digitized, make it all automated. Right? What does automation mean? That means they don't need the humans. That's the key, right? That's the thing that you have to understand. Like that's the reason I started my coaching business, was based on automation, because I knew that the robots are taking over, right? And that's basically what they're going to try to do, is replace you, the real estate agent and loan officer, myself too, with robots. Of course, you have humans controlling these robots, but the humans are being paid some sort of salary or hourly wage by Zillow, right? They're not going to get commissions, not the way that we are, right? Because Zillow, like a lot of these other companies, they believe that we do not provide enough value to deserve a commission. It's the bottom line, just so you understand, right? They believe that the real estate agent, loan officer, the title companies, whoever else that they're trying to replace, they don't believe that we do enough work to justify a commission. They believe that it's a commodity that they can pay someone an hourly wage to do, right? And that's the bottom line. So I don't know. I just be prepared to hear more information like this in the future. Let's put it this way: 3 4 years ago, I was talking about how like Zillow was going to start selling houses, and no one believed it, and now they are. About 2 years ago, I was talking about how Zillow is going to become a mortgage company, and no one believed me, and now they're talking about 3,000 loans a month. And the funny thing is, I looked up the information on MLS. They had a crap ton of licenses in every state, and I asked the Zillow representative, I said, "Why do you have a mortgage license in every state?" And they said, it's compliant for us to be able to refer deals, mortgage leads, whatever. I'm like, well, no, you can't. That makes no sense. But they're saying in order to be able to sell mortgage leads, they had to be licensed in the mortgage industry, which it doesn't compute. That's not the reason why you get an MLS license. But they've been licensed for a while, and it's because they're slowly becoming a mortgage company, which is reality today. I'll give you a quick example. I just, as an experiment, right? Because I like to do secret shopping. I actually went on Zillow and I pretended to be a mortgage client, right? So I filled out the information like I was a mortgage client, right? And what's the assumption when you fill out your information? The assumption is you're going to be connected or referred to some sort of professional, like a premier agent or whatever, right? That's the assumption, right? What happened was it actually said there are no loan officers available in this market. If you would like to see Zillow's options, you can click here. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm in Dallas Fort Worth. There's hundreds of thousands of loan officers in this area, or at least in the thousands in this area. I can name a whole bunch of them. And it says none of them are available, or they're not, there's no information available. It's Zillow was basically taking the mortgage leads for themselves, right? So that's just, I experienced proof that Zillow's literally going to try to take over the market, because I was one of those clients that they try to take, right? Even though I did it as a secret shopper. So yeah, just be ready.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, cool. Well, as far as my part for the ending here, uh, there are a lot of changes coming. We're actually entering the September doldrums here. As far as buyers go, end of September through mid-December, actually through mid January, it's going to be a good time for you because as these people start listing their homes, they are going to be getting less and less. So it's a good time if you've been sitting on the fence to get back into the market. I have bad news for you. Prices are probably not going to be going back down. If they go down, it's going to be maybe $5,000 from the average. Sellers are going to be a little hesitant for a bit because their neighbors got 10, 15, 20,000 bucks over listing. They're going to stick to that for a little bit until they come to realism. And they're going to be trying to stick to the whole I want someone to cover the appraisal gap, which they didn't a year ago. Then after about a month, they'll get to realism. So expect October for everything to really loosen up. Sellers, this is what I have to say to you. If you're trying to get your home on the market, get the most money, and actually get people to cover the appraisal gap and all that stuff, you got 1.5 good months from now. After that, you're done. When we go into the holiday season, no one's thinking about selling as much, or buying as much, which means they're not going to be covering that appraisal gap and stuff. So this month and a half is going to be your chance to get the most amount of money. And after that, it's going to be buyer season again, where people are going to be offering less than the list price, and they're not going to be playing any foolishness with you about, hey, I want you to cover the appraisal gap. They're not going to be doing that. It's going to be what it's worth. If you're saying somehow someone's stealing from you, remember, all those neighbors of yours who got that money that was additional, you got the money from when the neighbors got the money. That drove up the price anyway. So you got the money. So enjoy it. Go, especially if you're trying to sell your house to buy another house. That's going to be your time to sell it in September, to buy in October. Make those plans right now. Okay? I'm going to end. Okay. Larry, it's been great talking to you.
Yes, sir.
Everything's doing good. I'll talk to you on Tuesday, bro.
Yes, sir. Really appreciate it. Talk to you later.
Okay. Talk to you later.